New maps, new rules, and a whole new political landscape. From redrawn congressional districts to the battle for the governor's mansion, we're following the data that defines the 2026 races. We're deep diving into social media trends, expert polling, and the commercials flooding your screen. Get the analysis you won't find anywhere else. This is Battleground Texas.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rudy Koski in Austin, and welcome to Battleground Texas. It's the last day to vote early in the Texas primary races. Through last night, nearly 780,000 Republicans and 865,000 Democrats have cast ballots, and by the end of the day, that number will be much larger. Several top candidates on the ballot are in the crowd in Corpus Christi right now, listening to Governor Greg Abbott. You're looking at a live picture coming out of Corpus right now. The governor speaking most likely in regards to the Texas economy. Earlier, before the governor took the stage, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick was on the stage. This is all the pre-setup for President Trump. He is back in the Lone Star State for his first trip since the State of the Union. It's all about 30 minutes. In less than 30 minutes, actually, he will take the podium right there at the Port of Corpus Christi, delivering remarks on energy and economic policy. Now, in the crowd, it is a who's who in Texas politics right now. A lot of Republicans there, a lot of folks wondering if a surprise endorsement maybe will come out. Earlier this week, the Senate race, it became the most expensive primary race in history, and the numbers, they just keep growing, with Ad Impact reporting today that the race has surpassed $122 million in ad spending and reservations. Support for Cornyn accounts for 73% of all GOP spending. Pro-Talarico advertising makes up 80% of the Democrat spending. Let's bring in my colleagues Stephen Dial in Dallas and Greg Grugan in Houston. Guys, it is a busy, busy Friday. No rest for the weary. This primary race is heading up. What's catching your attention other than what's happening down in Corpus? Stephen.
Yeah, it's a slow news day. I don't know what you guys are talking about. It's pretty slow up here. Man, it's just everyone, it's the hurry up and wait right now. And I know we're going to talk about it later, but these polls have been all over the place. So I think some people are starting to get a little fatigued. Some people are being anxious. I'm ready to see what the final early voting total will be heading into Tuesday.
Greg, how about you?
Rudy, we all just learned from the Cornyn camp that the senator is actually aboard Air Force One on this trip to Corpus Christi. Given we are just 4 days out from the primary, I'm just going to make a wild-ass guess that given the opportunity, Big John will put on the full court press with the president for his support, if not in this round, at least the runoff, which polling indicates he's in pretty solid shape to make. The argument Paxton is deeply susceptible. Democrats know it and will pour millions into a fall battle to flip the seat, potentially hundreds of millions, which Republicans will have to match. Remember, money is Trump's principal language. A new survey is putting a spotlight on how independent voters drove the early voting surge in Texas and how that voting bloc, along with the undecided, will be the swing votes in the November general election. The survey was done by a group called Ballot Ready, along with Tavern Research and Columbia University. They had a little more than 1,000 people watch the Democrat Senate debate and viewed clips from the GOP campaign. Rudy spoke to the principal researcher at Tavern, Jake Martin. Here are the key points from that conversation.
I would say for our research, that was our assumption going into this research, was independence will be the tipping point and the deciding factor, where you'll see Democrats coalesce around the Democratic nominee, Republicans around the Republican nominee. So what is it that these independents are looking for, and where's their vote going to go based on what the campaigns are saying?
Is there a feeling that the messaging has gone too negative, or do you think that's helping to drive this turnout?
What we see here on the Democratic side is we see both candidates having net positive ratings. We see James Talarico at the beginning of the survey that we conducted, he's at 40% favorability rating. And Jasmine Crockett also at 40% favorability rating. We really specialize in kind of addressing these hard, interesting research questions and taking kind of a novel approach at it, which is what we did here with showing footage from the Democratic primary debate. So people who took the survey weren't just hearing or reading something about the candidates, about the Democratic candidates. they're actually watching video. What we saw was James Tallarico, winning at every point in the argument, where after the opening statements, we saw by more than 2-1, 69% of people said that Tallarico would be a better senator. So he's really positioning himself in the primary to kind of have an easier road ahead in the general election. And his favorability ratings, too. At the beginning of the survey, he started at 40% favorable. Afterward, 81% of these swing voters had a favorable view of him. The Republican side is really interesting. In this survey, what we did, since there wasn't a debate we could take footage from, we used text statements inspired and taken from what the candidates were saying on the trail. And we see Cornyn winning every one of these debates at around 50% mark. But Hunt dominates the campaign messaging. And that's for a couple of reasons. One is Hunt's message really around generational change. So we really see both of them with these swing voters having some appeal. Cornyn's leaning a lot on his connection to Trump and his work with Trump over the last 2 terms. And that is taking a bit of a toll for him on the swing voters as well. So that's why another reason why we see Hunt having a bit more appeal.
If the midterms are a referendum on Trump, does the research indicate that's going to continue into the summer and the fall to the general?
I think so. I think what we see nationally is a lot of indication that will be the case, that as we get into summer, into the fall, it's harder to kind of move off of that narrative and those attitudes that voters have, kind of dragging Cornyn a bit. And I think certainly with Paxton as well, the more affiliation with Trump, with the far right, that is a drag on their support. And we see that very clearly. All right, the research team in Crushing the Numbers, guys, claims it appears a new class of independent voter might be shaping up in the midterm battleground. They found people who voted Republican in the past crossing over and voting in the Democrat primary now. And they found a new set of voters who did not participate in past primaries or general elections, but this time they came out, and they came out early. Greg, is this a sleeper block woke up and is woke? What are your Republican sources saying?
Rudy, let me put it this way. I spoke to a Republican lawmaker who shall remain absolutely anonymous, and this individual said, "I sure am glad my name's not on the ballot this cycle." Look, clear-eyed Texas Republicans know they have a challenge, and much of it is beyond their control, like the economy and affordability, like heavy-handed ICE enforcement, like the skyrocketing cost of health coverage post-Obamacare subsidies. Some have tried to downplay that special North Texas State Senate race where independents broke sharply for the Democrats. Now we have the emergence of a totally new cohort. I'll call them the previously indifferent, suddenly engaged voting bloc. That's a wild card the Texas GOP wasn't counting on and may not be able to mute come November. Rudy?
Yeah, good take. And the GOP Senate race, the survey determined the overall independent preference broke down like this: 41% Hunt, 38% Cornyn, 20% Paxton. But Stephen, we know the hardcore right is going to flip that list somehow. And the Democrats, it is so volatile right now. What do you believe? You've been at Crockett's and Tallarico's events. What's the eye test tell you?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're just going off of the eye test, if you're just going off of what has been seen, I mean, John Cornyn said it perfectly. He called Tallarico Beto 2.0. Now, I'm calling him that in the sense of crowd size and his rallies and that type of energy surrounding him. But we really won't know, of course, until Tuesday. Now, I don't think we're going to have a long night. I will say that. I think so many people have voted early. You know, Republicans tend to vote on Election Day, so we'll have to see on the Republican side. But on the Democrat side, I think a large number of Democrats are voting early because they have that energy. So we'll have to see if those Tallarico mega crowds will translate to a mega win. Not mega, mega win for him on Tuesday.
All right, guys, I'm a liberal arts guy, but we're going to crunch some numbers anyway. 18 million registered voters in Texas. The breakdown is this: 8.2 million Republicans, 6 million Democrat. That roughly leaves about 3.2 million independents. I think it all adds up for a summer ad blitz that's going to eclipse what we've been seeing right now in this primary. So what are you guys thinking about those numbers? Greg, we'll start with you real quick.
You know, I had a conversation with our good friend Bill King today, and he had seen some data that a lot of these, previously indifferent voters. They're not young people. They're regular grown-ups, 35 and older, which really fascinated me, at least in the sense that, you know, the trend that we've seen in the past of relative indifference by younger voters continues, but it's this kind of awakening zombie voters who are suddenly engaged. They're coming from, you know, down the street, other neighbors, folks who look like you and me and Stephen.
Battleground Z there, Stephen. It's all about turnout, right?
It's all about turnout. That's any race, right? But bouncing off of what Greg said, I mean, it's something special about this year. And of course, we all know what happens to the incumbent party traditionally on midterm elections. But there's just something different about this race where, to Greg's point, it's not just the energy from young people, which is talked about in every election, and sometimes it materializes and sometimes it doesn't. But you just see a lot of people talking about this race. And I think it's because for the first time in forever, we have big name candidates on both sides. And so it's just a lot of energy and a lot of darn money.
Yeah, a lot of darn money. All right, the political trash talk, as expected, ramping up. We're going to hit the trash can, talk about it on the break. All right, welcome back to Battleground Texas. Let's take a look at some of the last-minute trash talking that's going on now. On X, John Martin, senior writer at Politico, posted a quote from Senator Cornyn saying, "I won't turn my seat over to a crook." That elicited this response from Ken Paxton. The Democrats' biggest ally in this race is the kamikaze campaign Cornyn's running. He's desperate. He knows he's going to lose, and his only goal is to hurt me and the party. This is not someone who cares about the Senate majority.
Team Cornyn posting, it takes just a few minutes to make your plan, find your polling place, bring your Texas ID, vote early. John Cornyn has stood with President Trump more than 99% of the time. Now let's show up and finish strong, writes the senator.
All right, while Wesley Hunt posted this, what have my opponents said about me? Plenty. And of course, all negative. But here's the question that matters. What has President Trump said about me? Since day one, I've stood with him. I was the first in the country to endorse him.
Now, from Democrat James Tellerico, we get President Trump wants to build a wall through Big Bend National Park, one of the most sacred places in Texas. Texans have a message for him. Come and take it. And nothing really ballistic, strangely enough, out of the Crockett camp. All right, guys, let's talk trash. I expect a lot more trash talking to happen between now and Tuesday. Greg, a lot of zingers there. Which one stuck with you?
Rudy, it's hard to ignore John Cornyn's pledge to render Ken Paxton unelectable in the coming runoff. That tells me, and my sources agree, that Cornyn's opposition research has unearthed more damaging information about the Attorney General, a morality haymaker or a financial impropriety that the senator is saving for the fourth quarter of this game. Now, given the revelations Paxton has already survived with his loyal base, it may roll off his back like the rest. But here's the kicker. Whatever Cornyn reveals will be ammo for the Democrats. Ammo they may never get to double down on if Republican primary voters choose the safe path and renominate the incumbent. Rudy?
Yeah, there's a lot of ammo out there and a lot of things flying around as we speak right now, and as we're waiting for the president to take the podium and talk down there in Corpus. Stephen, zingers for you?
I mean, it's something new every day. I mean, one zinger that we weren't able to talk about yet was Sid Miller alleging that Sheets is down there in Corpus Christi trying to take someone's seat. I just love, social media giveth and it taketh away. And right now, I think we're in a golden era of tweets and social media posts with all of this trash talk.
Yeah, we have hit that golden spot with social media. It's such a nasty little world, but man, it is ready-made, self-made for politics, guys. We were joking during the break. How's the president going to show up? Is he going to come pulling up in a Border Patrol vehicle, or is he going to rappel down from a Coast Guard helicopter? The theater, the political drama right now is just something to be seen. And we're not through with it yet, guys. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to take a look at some crazy polls that just dropped this afternoon. So stay tuned. We're just going to wing. All right, guys, if your head wasn't spinning with all the polls that have dropped lately, get ready to go full-blown Linda Blair and The Exorcist. UT Tyler dropping a doozy this afternoon. Let's bring it up full screen and we'll show you. Looky there. All that money apparently paying off. According to this poll, John Cornyn taking the lead, 41% to Paxton 35%, and Wesley Hunt way down at 15%. And then let's take a look at the Democrats in the Senate race. You know, we saw Tallarico claiming that he was in the lead after UT had Jasmine Crockett in the lead. Now UT Tyler has Jasmine Crockett pulling out with a big lead, 55% to 37% for Tallarico. Guys, what do you make of this? Is this just these snapshots and the voters right now just don't know what to do? And so many undecided. Is this the undecided? Greg, you know, spinning his head?
Look, Rudy, can you say battle of attrition? I mean, you know, we've seen the spending numbers that Cornyn has thrown out there, and it has an accretive effect. Eventually, you know, people start seeing Paxton as this bad guy. They start seeing Wesley Hunt as this guy who doesn't show up to work, and it's starting to show up in the polls. Also, you know, we've been talking about the win, hold, win strategy that Cornyn has. First, you know, you're basically fighting to knock Hunt out and go head-to-head with Paxton in a showdown runoff, and it looks like it's working so far. We shall see. The wild card: if Hunt's the odd man out, does he throw his support behind Paxton? Who knows?
All right, hey, Stephen, real quick with the Tallarico Crockett. Is this Crockett started sounding like Tallarico, and Tallarico talking about secret police sounding like Crockett? Is this a reflection of that?
Man, you would think it seems like Crockett has toned down and Tallarico is trying to channel into that anti-abolish ICE energy. I mean, I don't know. I will be honest with you. I am confused because these polls are all over the place, Rudy.
It's why I wore my Daffy Duck tie, guys. Here it is. This sums it all up, okay? Speaking of Looney Tunes, we're going to go back to Corpus Christi right after this break. All right, another live look from our camera at Port Corpus Christi, a live picture of President Trump minutes away from taking the podium, talking about energy, talking about economic policy. Guys, this is a pivotal moment for the Republicans. This is their first opportunity to try to change the narrative. Am I right or wrong?
No, I think you're right, Rudy.
Greg?
I mean, you know, we've been saying on this program for months, it's the economy, stupid. And if the Republicans don't get Americans thinking that their level of prosperity is improving, then we'll see it in the results in the midterm, and it's not going to be pretty.
Stephen, what does he have to say today?
Yeah, I mean, he has to say a lot of things, but that's not just going to instantly change people's mind. And keep in mind, so many people, at least as Texas is concerned, have already voted. What I'm looking for before we end the show is, depending on who the Democrat nominee is, will Democrats still coalesce behind that candidate?
All right, we'll keep it streaming. That's all we have for now, though, here on Battleground. You can see the interview or any of our past interviews by going to the YouTube pages.
And keep the conversation going on social media.
Today is the last day of early voting, so if you have not voted yet, you still have some time. Election day is on Tuesday. We'll see you guys on Monday. Have a good weekend.